Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be the two-part series. I did one. This is one of two. Two-part series of my Pinterest dress outfits realized, and I'm going to show you guys how to make them. Let me show you, I got some stuff on the table. I have it laid out. I'm going to give you dimensions and little things we can do for you to better customize your outfit. So let's begin. So here what we're gonna need are just a few things, and then some things obviously not on camera that I guess I could say are the obvious extra things that we need to make this project work. You're gonna need a t-shirt. I'm using a zombie shirt that, like, I need to use this greenish mesh fabric. So I'm gonna do like a green type outfit based on the colors of my zombie shirt. But you can do whatever you want. You have a white shirt, use white, tulle, mesh, whatever you have or can get your hands on. So I have my shirt. I have my mesh. Now for this outfit, the mesh does go down to my ankle. So I measured that, and that is the length this way. Yours will be different, so I'm not really gonna go too much into that. I think it's about 38 inches maybe on me. Now I do have this mesh folded in half, and from one side of the fold to the other it is 52 inches. My low waist, slightly low waist, it's about 34, depending if I've eaten or not. So mine is, that's like 100 inches. The purpose of me having it so large, one is to use all this fabric because that's pretty much all I have, but also it wasn't wide enough to do a circle skirt cut. So what I'm going to do is just use this large rectangular piece of fabric, and we're going to once we add it to the shirt, we're going to gather it, and then we're going to pleat it to make it fit to the circumference of my shirt once we cut that off at a little lower than the torso. I'll get into all that right now when that happens. We're gonna need some elastic. Now, some things about elastic that I do want to make mention on. If you are like me, I'm a little on the end of my, I'm not petite, we'll say that. I'm not petite, you know what I'm saying? So in my personal opinion, when you have elastic at the waistband that's going to cinch in the outfit at that part of your body, I would say if your waist is bigger, let's say bigger than 30, any of that area that's going to be cinched in is bigger than 30. I personally think a width of 1.5 or more. I would say even if your waist is more than 38, maybe go 2 inches width on the elastic. I just think that's a better proportion for the outfit. And of course, if you are smaller than 30 in the waist, maybe an inch, or smaller than 25, maybe 1/2 inch elastic wide, would be best for your body proportions. Of course, that's just my personal opinion. You could use whatever width you want, but I just feel that's better for my proportions. So I'm just passing on that suggestion to you guys. Also, you're gonna need scissors, your sewing machine, and matching thread, of course. And as we go through this, I will show you, I am going to be changing attachments, and I do, of course, want to go over that with you guys so you understand why I do the things the way I do them. So let's, last but not least, also, if your shirt is not long enough to use as a dress, you will need some extra fabric, and I do have some extra green fabric here. It is a little bit darker because this is the wrong side. So I'm just hoping that the mesh mutes that darkness. But I'll go over right now too how to make like a quick skirt without really cutting a pattern. So yeah, let's begin. So first line up for business is to get your, I'm gonna say a little lower than torso measurement, because I'm just trying to make it look as close to the picture as possible. And it looks, you know, just again, this is my opinion, how I'm interpreting these pictures. It's just slightly lower than the natural torso, which is the smallest part of your waist. So here, just demonstration, I already got my measurement. But you wanna start at the top of the shoulder, over your bust. Regardless if you have big or small bust, doesn't matter. There is a shift difference in the chest, so that does affect the measurement, so you do have to go over the bust. Where the nipple is, come down, as you can see here. On my mannequin, and the natural waist is indicated by this tape that's now falling off my mannequin. So here it says 16, but I'm gonna go a little lower, 1.5 inches more, and I'm gonna do 17. It would be 17.5 if I was going off of this. So my natural torso measurement is 20. So I'm going to do 21.5, and you will see it right here. I'm gonna switch the camera and you'll see I have my t-shirt on my cutting mat, and we're gonna go ahead and cut it. So here I have it on my cutting mat. Let me scoot this down a little bit so you can see better. So I'm gonna be measuring down. And when you use a cutting mat, you do wanna have a long ruler or yardstick or whatever, so you can have something solid to cut up against when you use your rotary cutter. So like I said, my measurement is gonna be 21.5. So I'm gonna start at the top. And if you think you're going a little crooked, the great thing why I like using the cutting mat is that I can see right here, I'm starting up here on the 8, and if I'm a little crooked, I can just scoot it back to the 8. You know, it's on the same line, so now I know that I'm straight, right? So actually, let me scoot this over to 8.5, because that's a little more better on the shoulder area. So I know I'm gonna have to cut for 21.5. I'm right here. I am gonna be cutting off text, but I mean, I'm just trying to recycle this shirt because it's unavoidable in this sense unless you have a custom screen printed shirt where everything's positioned differently, so that way there's no loss of your graphics. So here I am, 21.5. On the line here, that kind of measures up with the 22.5 line. Again, this is just where it falls for me, how I've placed my shirt on the cutting mat, but I'm sure you can figure that out once you get to it. So I'm gonna be kind of cutting off my Walker text, you know, oh well. So whenever you're handling rotary cutters, you always wanna have the safety off, because if you grab it from up here, it is so sharp, you're going to get a huge circular cut in the palm of your hand. It's very sharp, it's no joke. So please always, once you're done using the rotary cutter, you put the safety back on. So here I'm gonna use it. Put firm pressure on, because you don't want this moving around, and you certainly don't wanna go too fast, because you can always jump and hit up here, and what's up here? Your hand. Again, trying not to cut your fingers or bleed all over your project. And I do give it a lot of pressure because I want to be able to hear the crunch of the cut through both layers of the shirt while I'm doing this. Let me see, did I get it in one passing? Yes, I did. So now that's cut. I no longer need this. That's gonna be thrown away. So here I am now. This is prepped for when I come back later. Next thing that I'm going to do now, as you saw, which was already kind of prepped, but I'll show you how I do this. Like I was saying, if your shirt was not long enough to be like a skirt on its own, because you know, let's say like you have a humongous shirt and it's really long and you're short enough, it could work as a t-shirt dress all on its own. But since I'm not that short, I'm 5'7", even on me, like I can't really find shirts like that unless they were already purposely made long. So I gotta make my own little fake what am I saying, fake? I gotta make my own skirt now. It's just part of the deal. So what I did here is, I'll kind of go over it. I had a piece of fabric and I folded it in half. And when I did the placement, this was the fold of the shirt. Now, so it can kind of help you. I'm using this carpenter square so you can see the 90-degree angles. So it can help you when you're eyeballing your own. Again, I didn't use a paper pattern for this. I just chalked this out on the fabric as I was doing it because it's very simple and it's not that big a deal if you make a small error, because again, it's gonna be scrunched and underneath the mesh skirting that goes over it, the overlay of the mesh skirt. So again, if you mess up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. So here I have my carpenter square here, so you can see the 90-degree angle. So what I did is I had the edge of the fold of the fabric. I have 4 layers in total. I took my waist measurement and I divided that by 4. So in this case, when I did this, what's the width on it? Again, I mean, these are your measurements, but just so you can see what I did here. I have 11. My low waist is about 34, so that's 44 in total. So that's 44. So everything I'm doing as far as the skirt goes is gonna be bigger than my actual waist measurement, and that's to help so you can have some really nice ruching and scrunching at the waist when you wear this. So that's 44, it's folded over. At the end here, when I did my line to figure out like the 44, I just kind of, and let me scoot over the carpenter square again so you can see the degree at which I swung this. So I have the corner right there where I ended. And what I did was mainly, I just kind of swiveled out. I'd say that's about 45 inches from your 90-degree angle. So I swiveled out 45 degrees. I made my marking with the chalk, cut it. Same thing, I measured my length, how long I want the skirt to be. And on me, I have 21.5 inches. So I just did 21, 21, 21, 21. And then it made the little, you know, the track for me to cut. And I cut this out. And when I unfolded it, I had the equal degrees. I hope that makes sense. And then I've just pinned it in, you know, ready to be sewn. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Let's bust out with the sewing machine. I'm gonna sew over here in the corner of my kitchen table. Also, as you saw at the beginning of the video, I have my 100 inches width folded in half because I was like at 52, so that's like 104. I already have it pinned. Just pinned aside. Okay, so I've already taken off my other foot. So this is what I was talking about. For this fabric, for the mesh, even the t-shirt, yeah, I mean, t-shirt, fabric, jersey, that stuff moves around a lot and it's a pain in my rear end. And also the fabric that I chose to make the little skirt out of underneath, that is super shifty, as I like to call it. Just, it moves around too damn much. So what I'm gonna do here is show you how to install, and I don't think I've ever done this in a video, install a walking foot, AKA even feed foot. They all look like this, all of them do. So what you're gonna do with this little arm right here, you're gonna put it on this little arm right here. So let me put that like that. Make sure you're lining up your screw holes back here. And also when you buy one, make sure that the foot is the right shank size for what your machine uses. So like I think mine is a slant shank. I always forget, and I'm too lazy at this moment to look it up. But just make sure that you do get the one that is right for your machine. Throw all your thread in front of you. That's how you install it, and just make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. And what this does, where's that little, hold on, let me get that. So instead of like normally with the feet when you're sewing, it's putting pressure on this and it's just dragging across. This one doesn't do that, so it reduces the chance of it bubbling while you're sewing it, and it's sewing in weird little gathers and pleats that shouldn't been there. So as you'll see right now, it kind of just pops and it's avoided. So let me show you that. And I have it on a zigzag stitch. So can you see how it's like kind of hopping along? And like I said, I usually use this foot. I mean, I use it on fabric that just shifts too much. It's real slinky. It's super stretchy. So when I do a lot of costume stuff that uses a lot of stretchy costume fabric, I will use this foot. So let's get sewing. Use about a 1/2 inch. Again, I'm not gonna be super anal about this stuff because this is just a quick little simple outfit. You know, there are just some things that I do that I'm just like, meh, it'll come out fine. So I'm gonna use a zigzag stitch. I personally feel that with a zigzag stitch, when you have very holey fabric like this, such as mesh, such as lace, the zigzag really grabs all the layers because, you know, it's got holes in it. If you do a straight stitch, you might just be going down a whole line that you're sewing where you're hitting nothing but holes that are in the fabric from the decor in it, and you're not really sewing anything. So I like to use a zigzag stitch because it'll grab everything. It might get a few holes, but it's still gonna grab both layers of fabric at some point while it's sewing. So there's more consistency in that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. Always keeping a light hand. Remember, the machine takes the fabric for you, so you don't need to pull it too much unless you're sewing stuff that's just really giving you a hard time that your machine probably shouldn't be sewing. But I know we all have bad habits, and I have mine too, so. Both sides of my skirt, and then the one side of the mesh skirt because it's folded over, sewn. I just trimmed off the excess a little bit. So now what we're gonna do is do the gathering. If you've never done gathering, it's very easy. You could do it by machine or by hand. I'm gonna do it by machine. I'm gonna set my machine to straight stitch on the biggest, I mean like the widest stitch that my machine can do, because you don't want to have the stitch tiny because it makes it almost impossible to do the gather, which I'll show you, but let me just kind of show it while it's flat before I do this. So you're gonna get one layer because you're gonna go all the way around, and you're gonna try and get, you know, within, let me raise this, within 1/2 inch to the edge, and you're just gonna do a straight stitch, remember, in the biggest width that your machine can do, all the way around. And then when you get to the end, we're gonna just pull on it and distribute the gathers evenly. Now this is probably gonna be the most time consuming. We're gonna do it on, I mean, it takes a while. So I'll do a little video on that real quick so you can see it. And then you go ahead and do that if you wanna replicate this. So I'm gonna, right now I have it on zigzag stitch. I'm gonna switch this to the straight stitch. So let me, first of all, straighten this out. On my machine, I have to take it back to straight stitch. Straight stitch. Right now I have it on kind of a fine, so I want to switch it all the way to number 6. And that's the widest my machine can go. It doesn't matter if you're doing this on the right side or outside because this is just to gather it. Okay, so I'm trying to stay as furthest to the top as I can. So I went all the way around. This is what I'm talking about with the gathering, okay? So I'm going to take one string, and when you cut this off the machine, make sure you give yourself enough slack. You're just gonna pull it, and see how when I pull it, it starts to gather, but you need to, like I said, try and evenly distribute that around the whole part of the skirt. You kind of have to do this gradually, because if you try and do it like all at once, sometimes this can get like a little bunched up or caught up, and it's hard to distribute that. So I'm gonna try and shrink this to the width of the shirt that I cut, because the shirt itself is going to have elastic. So I'm gonna try and shrink this to the width of this shirt. So once I get it to the width of this shirt, then I know that I'm golden, and I can attach the little skirt underneath the mesh, and then put everything together, and then insert the elastic within the shirt dress. So let's begin. Oh look, I can see my cats from here. Yeah, so now you can see if you kind of if I lay my shirt flat and I put this, now you can see if I lay this flat and I put this in, you know, it's about the same size as the shirt, which is what I wanted. So now what I'm gonna do, now that the gathering is just right according to my shirt on the overlay skirt, I'm gonna get my little skirt. Everything at this point, now that we're inserting it, is going to be right sides out. We're matching right sides, well, not right sides, but this is gonna be right side to wrong side because it's inside the mesh skirt, right? Make sure you have it, you know, spread out, not upside down. So yeah, let me go ahead and put this. What I'm gonna do on the mesh skirt, since there's only one seam on it because it's folded in half, I'm gonna have that as like the back butt seam, so I know what direction it is. And then of course this has two seams on the side, so I'm gonna have like the mesh back seam, and then on the inside of the skirt on the sides like a T, my two side seams equally within the overlay skirt. Yes, yes. So here we go. Where's my back seam? Is right in the back. Here we go. The back seam, I can see it from my side, is right here. I'm going to insert the green skirt. Where's my side seams? So just kind of eyeballing that the side seams are an equal distance from the back seam of this mesh overlay. I do like the way that looks. Then I'm just gonna line up the top edges of the dark green skirt and my mesh skirt, and I'm just going to pin them in place. And if for any reason when we do go to insert it to the shirt, that the solid color lining skirt that's connected to the overlay is a little bit smaller, you can stretch it to fit. That's what I like about using these fabrics. If you're a little off, you can always stretch it to fit and sew it that way, which is fine. Again, all the scrunching and ruching that we're gonna have in the elastic for the waist is going to hide any mathematical, you know, imperfections, abnormalities of whatever kind in the fit. So, I mean, that's a nice way to have, you know, because I'm trying to have this skirt ready for Christmas Eve. As you can see here, edge, oh, it's kind of rolled up, but the edge is with the edge. So do that all the way around, and then and then we'll do one basting stitch to connect the two skirts before we combine it to the shirt portion. And then I think that'll be done. So I have basted the lining skirt to the overlay mesh skirt. As you can see here, I stretch it out, and it is it's the same size as the shirt. So I'm gonna go ahead and combine it right sides together with the shirt, right sides together of this shirt. Wait, did I say that right? Skirt and shirt, right sides together. There we go. I'm gonna sew it in a zigzag stitch, because all this will be stretching, all this will be expanding and retracting. So we want to be able for that to handle it. If you have a serger, great, use that. I'm too lazy right now. This is just a quickie personal outfit. It'll be just fine. The fabrics that I've chosen do not unravel really much at all. So I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch, combine that, and then go ahead and insert the elastic. So, okay, so now what I'm going to do, like I said, I connected the skirt to the shirt all the way around. So this is how it is. It's still really big. So now this is where we kind of size it. So remember, it was about 1.5 inches lower than your natural torso. I took that measurement and I subtracted it by 4 inches. So 36 on me, 32 is what this measures, plus 1/2 inch, because once you cut this, you're gonna sew a loop. And as you can see here, I just did, I overlapped it 1/2 inch, and I did some two zigzag stitches to kind of reinforce it. So now what I'm going to do is put this on the waistband, but it is smaller, much smaller than the skirt. So what we're gonna do is we're going to make I call it like a 4-point quadrant to make it even, so that way the scrunch will be even. And as we sew it, we are going to be stretching this to fit the actual skirt. And when the whole thing's sewn, it'll cinch back down, and you'll have very nice extra even gathering pleating around the skirt. And then after that, just try it on, remeasure how long it is. This is pretty much the last step. So let me show you how I insert this. So this is what I mean. So we're gonna find, let me see, where is it? Where's the back seam? We'll start off the back seam. So I'm trying to feel for it. I know it's here, so here we are. So my back seam of the mesh is right here. So I'm just going to pin that as a marker, and then I'm just going to put this evenly so I can see, where my center is and all that stuff. So first things first, you're going to attach one part of the elastic. I usually use the part that I sewed. That'll be my center back. Okay. Hold on. Let me pull this through the loop. I always do this. Here we go. Yeah. Because it should be on the outside. So now what I'm going to do, if I take this center and I pull it this way, I find the next front center, I'll call it, and I'm gonna just mark that real quick. So this is how I'm setting up my 4-point quadrant. So if I take these 2 pins and I meet them and I bring this out, I'm gonna find the equal side seam of my elastic on that side. Same thing here, found it over here. So now I know where I need to do my placements, okay? And same thing with the skirt. If I pull this and I kind of meet this, I know that my center here is about here. So I'm gonna mark it again. Because remember, I don't have side seams on all of, like on the shirt, the mesh skirt. I only have side seams on the inner shirt. So I need to be able to mark evenly where my 4-point placement is gonna be. So again, if I pull the sides, but here at least I can see on the skirt that I made that there's the side seam there. So I mean, I technically don't have to pin it. So this is what I'm gonna do. Start matching up. Front seam to front seam point. I'm gonna put that away and I'll just pin this. Actually, this should be pinned to the outside. There, that's connected. Remember, kind of like just make sure that your elastic is always in the right direction and it's not twisting as you're pinning it and sewing it, because that just irritates, you know what I mean? It irritates me. So here I'm gonna take this side seam of the elastic and then connect it to the side seam over here. And I did tell you I'm still gonna do stretching and sewing. So as you can see here, if I pull it, it fits the bottom skirt, right? So just to help us along the way, I'm just going to eyeball the center of this side and eyeball the center of the elastic. And I'm just gonna pin that. But remember, when we go to sew, we are gonna be stretching as we sew. So let me go ahead and continue eyeballing the centers of these things, and then we're gonna go to the sewing machine and we're gonna continue our work. Here we are. Let's go ahead and do this and connect everything with a zigzag stitch or any other type of stretch stitch that you want to use on your machine, but make sure it is a stretch stitch. So let's go ahead here and I'm going to show you how I pull and sew. Now this is kind of hard because you're helping your machine a little bit and you're pulling fabric. So you might want to practice a little first. Let me see here. Let me get it to 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna put that there. As you can see, there's still, you can see the skirt is longer than the elastic. So I'm gonna sew this. And when you grab it, be careful not to grab the pins and directly stab yourself. So I'm pulling the fabric. I'm still I'm still allowing, I can feel the machine pulling it. So I'm just trying to stay with that natural speed. I'm not trying to fight it because you can mess up your machine. So this is one of those things that you might want to practice on. But I've done this quite a bit, so. And I like to grab it from each pin. And that just kind of helps me. And I go real slow when I'm gonna pass over a needle. I'm gonna remove some pins. And then every so often, just make sure that there's no bunching down here, that it's flat at least, that you can see. Okay, so here I am, done. The pleating came out absolutely beautiful. It looks like it's kind of tucked in. Probably even more on this because this mannequin is much smaller than I am. But as you can see, if I lift this up, you can see all the pleating here from the scrunching. It just looks very even. It looks very nice. I like the fullness of it. It has a lining. You could fold up the sleeves if you want to. As a look, I don't know if I will. But yeah, I'm very pleased with this. This came out great. I've been very busy with work, so I haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to pumping out my tutorials, which makes me very frustrated and sad. But hey, you work for a living, we gotta pay our bills, you know how it is. So I have another video coming up soon, hopefully in the next few weeks or so. A shout out to my friend's channel, Michelle and Nick, one vlog away. I have merch from them that I do also want to do a different Pinterest outfit. As you saw in the photo, it was the yellow one, but this will be a gray one since the shirt that I got is gray. So yeah, if you want to see this look on me, you know, all done up in my entirety or whatever, you can check that out this week on my Instagram at Egypt Machine. You can see me wearing it in its full glory. I love the way it came out. I hope you have a great time making this too. If this interests you, stay tuned for the other video coming up in the next few weeks. Like I said, have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Yuletide greetings, and beyond to all. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.